Welcome to Pimpy's Investment Chat, where we keep investment talk simple. And here's your host, Pimpy.
What is going on out there, peeps? Oh yeah, hang on there, Al Sedini. Things are going to get easier. That poor guy. Now he's got Hezbollah threatening to bombard the hell out of Blinken when he's there, man. And I almost won't shed a tear if something happens to that guy. You got to know who his father is and who he is. There's some real dark, evil bastards, man. So, if they get him, all darn. But anyways, what do you guys think? That's the new central bank of Iraq still being built. It's getting up there. To me, why don't we call for what it really is? It's not only a central bank in Iraq, but it's also an intelligence gathering apparatus. That's right. It's going to have the ability to eavesdrop as far as into Iraq and into Israel and all the other fun-loving countries that you want to spy on. We've been seeing this picture for a long time, but it's nice to see that the construction is definitely moving right along. But all right, so let's get into this because we know, as usual, the news is always fun. Couple things. Love this. This came out a couple minutes ago. Blinken makes unannounced visit to Iraq. What the hell are you talking about? We've been talking about it now in the Iraqi community for last week. We knew he was on his way today. Al-Qademi holds the U.S. Federal Reserve responsible for the rise in the dollar. Now, we're not talking about the ex-Prime Minister Al-Qademi. We're talking about Moeen Al-Qademi. On Sunday, held the U.S. Federal Reserve responsible for the fluctuation and the rise in the dollar prices in Iraq's markets. Al-Qademi told the news the U.S. Federal Bank is obstructing the arrival of the necessary daily financial transfers scheduled for merchants and importers to provide basic needs and goods amounting to $150 to $200 million per day, which prompts importers to buy dollars from black markets, and exchange rates rise clearly despite government's plans and treatments by the central bank and the concerned authorities. In other words, the United States is always complaining that Iraq has to do what they need to do to control the markets, to keep dollars from being smuggled, but then they turn around and make life hard for them by not getting them the money when they're requesting it, causing people to go to the black market. Well, if you don't want people going to the black market so they can turn around and sell your dollars, smuggle them into other countries, why don't you work with the Iraqi government by providing them what they need so there's no need to go to the black market? He stressed that the federal bank is adopting pressure policies against the Central Bank of Iraq, which requires plans and positions to liberate itself from American financial restrictions and deposit daily oil sales and revenues in the central bank instead of the Federal Reserve. Exactly, that's what you need to do. Look, for those you don't know, the oil revenues don't go to Iraq. They go to the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve babysits Iraq. They hold their monies. They have their gold reserves. They have their foreign currency reserves. And their oil revenue goes over there. Yes, we absolutely want to see al-Sudini liberate itself from the American financial restrictions. Here Iraq is, keeping out of this war, behaving themselves, been getting their crap together now for the past year. All while Biden's giving them crap. For those of you who don't know, part of the Biden crime family is Iraq awarded Biden's brother a $1.6 billion housing project over there in Iraq. Another part of the Biden crime family finding ways to funnel money to their family. So considering that his brother has zero, and I mean zero construction experience, it's funny how they're able to get these contracts. So yes, Iraq is doing everything they can to get back on their feet, only to have the United States just hold them down, and this is not a good thing. What they're actually doing is pushing Iraq away from the United States as an ally and pushing them right into the whole BRICS nations. And as much as they want to keep them as an ally, they're not doing very friendly things to help Iraq along. Al-Qademi called for the adoption of foreign currencies for commercial purposes and remittances instead of being limited to the restriction of the dollar and the American policies behind which there are political reasons, in addition to securing the needs of travelers for the dollar and not having to buy the dollar from black or parallel markets. He added that despite the fluctuation and rise in dollar prices, the Iraqi markets are relatively stable compared to the conditions of the dollar, which is really weird. Now, the only reason why people are picking up the dollars on the black market, one is you can get a lot more Iraqi dinars than you could at the official exchange rate at the Central Bank of Iraq. So if you're trying to make ends meet and you happen to get your hands on dollars because you got relatives over there in the United States making good money and they're sending some money back to you, well, of course you want your dinars to stretch. You're going to go to the black market. You're going to get more dinars for your dollar. So the cost of living over there has been stable. So that's a good sign. Food prices have been stable. Gas prices have been stable. Cost of living has been pretty stable despite the ups and downs with the currency. That's why when they were talking about sending more dollars over there to help with the exchange rate, I said, yeah, that'll help temporarily, but that's not the real problem. The real problem is Iraq needs to increase their exchange rate so that the desire to want to get rid of your dinars decreases and people start using the dinars and not needing a dollar so much. Despite the measures announced by the government and the central bank to control dollar prices, prices are witnessing a continuous rise and fluctuation that has confused local markets and commercial transactions of various kinds. The Federal Reserve doing everything they can, and along with the World Bank, just so you're aware, to keep the value of the Iraqi dinar down. I told you there's a reason for it. If they can start getting businesses over there into Iraq, well, then you have cheap labor. See where this is going? So why wouldn't United States companies want to come into Iraq and open up businesses when you can have a cheap currency from Iraq and pay lower labor costs? So yeah, this is what Iraq does not need. So Hezbollah, we will meet Blinken's visit to Iraq with an unprecedented escalation, and we will close the embassy in a non-peaceful way. They're talking about doing this inside Iraq. So this is where you hope that al-Sudani stands strong and needs to do what he can to make sure everybody stays safe and that these attacks don't take place. So Hezbollah security officer on Sunday rejected U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken's visit to Iraq and said it would be met with an unprecedented escalation, while noting that the battalions would close the U.S. Embassy in a privately non-peaceful way. So al-Askari explained on Twitter that the visit of Anthony Blinken, the son of Judaism, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs of America, but rather the Zionist Minister of War, is not welcome in Iraq. And if he comes, we will meet him with unprecedented escalation. Obviously, he didn't care, and he showed up. A government source familiar with the news agencies said that the U.S. Secretary of State will conduct an official visit today on Sunday to the capital in Baghdad, during which he will meet with the Iraqi Prime Minister al-Sudani and the Iraqi counterparts Hussein, explaining that the visit comes to discuss developments in the situation in the region following the war in Gaza. U.S. Secretary of State talks will focus on escalation of attacks by armed factions against American targets and interests, and the delivery of warning messages that Washington will respond to those attacks. Just another excuse to get back into Iraq with soldiers. Remember, they were supposed to end occupation over there? They were turning over this huge, beautiful base, as President Trump said, this big, beautiful base. Later on, I was reporting that what was really going on is there was new barracks being built right smack dab in the middle of all the resources by the oil refineries for U.S. soldiers. So they weren't going anywhere. Their job is to go there and watch over all the resources. You have mining going on in that same sector, oil refinery, gas refinery, all right where the United States is now planting itself. Not only that, but you have access by water. So the threat of aggression continues. So you can see, again, the U.S. threatening. If anything happens, we'll be right back in your country, occupying it, and taking everything back to square one. It's not going to happen. Al-Sudani can do this. I have faith in this guy, man. God be with him for reals. Because Al-Sudani, what a damn tough position to be in. You're trying to do everything you can to free Iraq, give it back its own sovereignty, without having to get permission to do things for your budget, get out of that financial restriction that the United States has, and absolutely get out of those sanctions that the United States has on you. Anyways, that's it for now. You guys let me know what you think. I look forward to hearing from you. I'll catch you later. I'm out.